I believe that we're seeing a new type of addiction that's very normalized for young men nowadays. And the reason that it's an addiction is because it targets a lot of the same dopamine receptors that we get in our brain from things like gambling. And of course, this is going to be dating apps. So I kind of want to start with going over my experiences with dating apps and how they kind of affected me. And if you're seeing something similar in your life, then maybe it's time to consider deleting them. So it starts many years ago before I met my current girlfriend that I have now, who I love very much. I had just moved out to the state of Arizona. I was newly single. I didn't really have that many friends out here. The only people that I really knew was my family. So I thought the best way to meet people and potentially go on some dates was going to be through the dating apps. And this was going to be my first time using them, so I wasn't necessarily experienced in what to do or how to use them, so this was a very new thing to me. I get on, I downloaded a couple, probably the major ones, Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, those ones. I go and create my profile and I start swiping. Immediately, I'm starting to get super happy because I'm seeing all of these really pretty ladies that I'm swiping through. And then I realized, oh my God, there's a swipe limit. I've only gone through so many. I want to see how many other ladies are out there. And then I find out that there's a paywall for this type of thing. So I go ahead and I spend the money on the Tinder Gold so I can start swiping more, seeing more ladies. Before you know it, it's been a couple of weeks and I've swiped through pretty much every single lady that's in my area. And how many matches do I have? Probably around 40, 50 maybe. And what's crazy is because I had the Tinder Gold, I got to see the people who were liking me back. And man, did that really kill my self confidence at times. I'm not very cocky, but I'm not very dumb either. I think I'm a pretty average looking individual. I don't necessarily have anything too special about me that would make me very attractive to the hottest people on the planet, but I don't think that I'm the ugliest person either. So when I get to see that all these different people that I thought were very unattractive to me were liking me, man, that killed me in so many ways that I couldn't even understand. And I think that's when it hit me that average people don't necessarily win on this app. So besides just looks, you kind of really had to be different. So what did I start doing? Started treating it like a game. Only when I really stopped caring so much about the messages that I was sending or the types of people that were giving me likes back is when I really started to get matches and start winning at this whole dating app thing. I'm not going to share what those messages were, but they sometimes were pretty funny. I start getting matches, start getting a couple of phone numbers, ended up going on a couple of dates, and I did meet a lady that I went out with for maybe a month or so. So I can personally say, yes, there could be some success that you can get out of these dating apps. It's just the matter of how they're being used that's going to be detrimental to men's mental health right now. Because think about how these apps look for women. It's probably highly saturated and filled with a lot of raunchy crap because there's about three dudes for every one girl that are on these dating apps. So the market is already highly saturated. Like imagine walking into a bar and for every three to four dudes that you see, there's one woman. That's multiplied by thousands online. And men swipe right on about 60% of profiles, while women swipe right on only about 5%. This means that the bottom 80% of men, by attractiveness, are competing for the bottom 22% of women, while top women chase top men. And this generally means for the average dude that a lot of your messages are going to go unanswered. You could be the perfect fit for this person, but they're never going to hear from you because of how the algorithm works. It pushes popular profiles, so average users get almost no visibility. The saturation isn't just annoying, it's designed to make you pay to stand out because these apps are kind of pay to win, but also not really. The premium features like boosts and super likes, seeing who liked you, they create the paywall, but even paying doesn't guarantee success because the deck is stacked by algorithms and user behavior. Those apps like Tinder or Bumble are going to lure you in with the promises of being seen by more people, quote unquote. So you're going to go ahead and you're going to drop the however many dollars a month, whether it's 20 to 50, you're going to get that temporary boost, but you're still going to face the same inequality because the real winners are the apps making billions from your hope. Even with the premium, you're not in the top attractiveness tier. So those matches are still going to be remaining scarce. It's kind of like paying for better seats at a rigged casino. So because of this, we're trying to pay to win and we're not getting as many matches. This kind of exploits the loneliness that a lot of men feel in their lives because free users get frustrated and they do the upgrade, but then the fundamental problems like the saturation and the superficiality, those are still going to persist. And with all that swiping, it's not harmless fun. It's wrecking your mental health. With the money that you're spending and the matches that you're not getting, it can be a form of rejection or comparison and validation seeking. These things are going to tank your self esteem and they're going to increase your anxiety and your depression. There are a bunch of studies out there that do show that men that use dating apps have worse mental health, significantly. Higher depression, anxiety, loneliness, psychological distress, more than non users. The swiping mechanics with the endless scrolling, it creates fatigue. And the frequent rejection with the ghosting that you're going to get and no replies, it feels personal, but it is systemic. Women face harassment, men face invisibility, and that invisibility puts a lot of pressure on us men when it comes to our loneliness and how we're feeling when it comes to our anxiety and our depression. Not only that, but these apps are telling your brain to like someone based off of attraction only. Every single profile that you see is filled with a couple of pictures, and it's usually someone showing off their body and their face, and then it has a short bio that maybe has their Instagram handle just so you can follow them. But these profiles, they don't tell you anything about who they are as a person. It only takes over those curated highlights over personality, values, or compatibility. When you're judging someone based off of their looks alone, it kind of brings everything back to a corn addiction. When you're watching these videos and you're scrolling through all the different options because you don't see the type of woman that you like, you're doing the same exact thing, but in real life when it comes to trying to find a relationship. Now, think about that for a second. That's an addiction that a lot of young men face nowadays when it comes to watching those types of videos. But there's another one that they could be facing that's very similar to what we see in the dating apps is gambling. Like we've already discussed, you have to sometimes pay money to think that you're going to be able to win. Whenever you get a new message, like, or match on these apps, it triggers a lot of the same dopamine receptors that we get when we're gambling. And the swiping mechanics are very similar to pulling a lever on a slot machine because it takes not a lot of effort. It's a quick look, pull the lever, pull the lever, pull the lever. When you're in these apps and you're swiping through all these different ladies, your brain subconsciously in the back is going, will this swipe pay off? Is this person already liked with me? Is this going to be a match? This type of unpredictability that we face when it comes to these dating apps make it more addictive than having some sort of consistent reward. It mirrors gambling because the anticipation releases even more dopamine than the actual reward itself. Next time you're at a slot machine, really think about what times during that point at the slot machine that you're actually happy. I think the only thing that could make you happier than anything else is hitting the jackpot. But when you win a couple of dollars here, a few dollars there, maybe you win tens to hundreds of dollars, which in the instance of being in a casino might not necessarily be real money. But the times in between that you're actually going to be happy and when the dopamine is being released is when you're watching those numbers roll. You're trying to get the jackpot. You're trying to hit the big sevens. You're trying to match the fruit or whatever. That's when your dopamine is actually jacking up at these slot machines. And it's the same exact features when you're swiping through these apps. And now that I'm thinking about this too, I can kind of relate to it for my game of choice, which is craps. I live in Arizona. Gambling and casinos are legal on Indian reservations, and there are plenty of them out here. So every couple of months, I do find myself at one of the casinos, but I do generally like to play craps. And the fun thing about craps is when you're standing at a table with a bunch of people and you're all trying to roll and you're all trying to make money, the dopamine is there when you guys are all together compared to actually hitting the numbers. There's this one specific time where this dude went for like 35 rolls in a row and he didn't roll a 7 or an 11. If you know the rules of craps, you understand what I mean. And then at the end, when he finally hit it, we gave him a round of applause, a standing ovation, because we were so happy for everything that just occurred. But it's those moments in between, that anticipation of what's the roll going to be, putting your money on specific numbers so that you could potentially win more if it hits, hoping it might hit that number. Dating apps are exactly like that because we keep thinking about the what ifs when it comes to the swipe. What if when it comes to the message? Will she reply? What is she going to reply with? Will this lead to a date? Will this lead to hooking up? And speaking of hooking up, I feel like that's the only thing that these apps may be generally good for. I'm a firm believer in traditional family values and sticking with one person. And obviously, things are going to be different nowadays because you're going to date people, you're going to break up, things are going to happen. But when you stick with one person instead of going and sleeping around, that's what I believe in. But because the culture of these apps are so centralized about potential hookups, we spend our days gooning about the ideas of this lady that we just matched with and what could be. But if you're like me and you're probably an average looking dude, your profile is going to get lost through all of the other attractive men that are on there that the women are actually going to be swiping on. The hot people in these apps are the ones that dominate, which leaves most users, probably 80% of them, who are average like us, feeling really frustrated and demoralized. The data shows the extreme inequality. Average men get liked by less than 1% of women. Women get far more matches, but often from men they're not interested in. So the top 20% of men get most of the attention, and everyone else gets the scraps or the leftovers. But when you're an average man, it kind of helps us internalize our own failure when these types of things happen. When we can't get matches, we can't get dates, we can't get phone numbers. It makes us feel like we're not good enough, even though it's the system's design. These apps really discourage real life approaches where personality shines. When you start dating people in real life, you really tend to find out that personality is going to overrule attractiveness by a mile. Does attractiveness matter when it comes to initial attraction? Yes, it definitely can. But if you're a funny dude, that's not going to be able to shine as much on a message that you send through these apps compared to approaching someone in real life. Things that sound funny on paper are generally funnier when they're said out loud. Messages get misinterpreted and misread in many different ways, so it's hard to show your emotion or the value that you're putting into a message compared to if you're saying it in real life. And I think there's a lot of men out there that can account for the fact that when you're meeting people in real life, you don't necessarily have to deal with the ghosting and the flakiness and the low effort as much as when it comes to this significantly less amount of effort that it takes to interact with someone in an app. Ghosting is still going to happen in real life, but when it comes to these apps, it's almost a crisis. And when you start meeting people in real life, you don't have to deal with one of the major other problems on these dating apps, which is fake profiles and catfishing. I learned extremely quickly on these dating apps that if I matched with someone who I thought was seriously out of my league, it was most likely some sort of fake account or a scam. And honestly, in a lot of cases, they're just trying to promote their OnlyFans or their Instagram or something like that. Traditional dating is going to mitigate a lot of these problems because you can't necessarily meet a fake profile in real life. When you go out and you make friends and you start meeting people, they might be able to introduce you to their friends, and you know that that's a real person that you might be able to have a genuine connection with. How are you going to find if you have a genuine connection with someone over 5 different messages on a dating app? And when it comes to this problem with ghosting and these fake profiles, let's say you actually do get a win. You find a lady, you talk with her, you guys set up a date. Something occurs there, but because of the nature of these dating apps, we're not necessarily taking the time to vet someone properly compared to if we were to have just met them in real life. Think about the compatibility issues that you may have found if you were to have approached someone in real life. You may have found that you have a problem with them or something doesn't immediately align with your values that would make you want to go out with them in the first place. So it ultimately brings us back in this whole loop of going back onto the dating app because it's addicting and it's fun. It's a game to us. We want to continue swiping because we don't want to take the approach of real life because it's so much easier to just do this and it targets those dopamine receptors, so it keeps us coming back anyways. These apps are designed to keep you coming back. Like I said, they already play into your dopamine receptors to play like different addictions do. These apps make money off of you for coming back. They make money on return customers, as most successful businesses do. Think about the general business model of these different companies. You can download and use the app for free, but it gives you those basic swiping limits with 25 to 30 or however many swipes a day. And then you get the paid upgrade, like the subscription, whether it's Tinder Gold or Platinum, Bumble Premium, etc. And you get the one-time purchases like the boosts and the super likes, which are going to be able to promise you better visibility, more matches, and features like seeing who liked you or unlimited swipes. They make the most of their money from the subscriptions. Because think about how frustrated you may have been with the free experience on the app. You have limited swipes, you have poor visibility, and it doesn't play into your instant gratification of finding a match now. This really pushes the user to pay for the super likes and pay for the boost so that they can become more visible and they don't have to wait for the likes compared to if they had a limited amount of swipes per day or a limited amount of visibility. It gives you the gratification of thinking I can get a match quicker than if you were just to wait. Just like social media, these apps run on an algorithm and it's not based off of compatibility. It's based off of people that spend money that give them the more visibility. And this isn't some grand conspiracy. This is a company that's trying to maximize on profit. It's a matchmaking app that relies on return customers, and the way that they're going to make money is if people don't delete the app and they continue to come back. And just like these casinos that you visit or the online gambling that you're going to do, you're only feeding the machine more when you continue to use these apps and feed your own addiction of trying to take the easy way to find someone online rather than doing the hard work and trying to find someone in real life. Dating apps are not tools for love. They are addiction machines optimized for engagement and profit at the expense of your well-being. So how do you fix your well-being? Simply delete the apps. Start building real-life social circles, whether it's through hobbies, events, friends. Focus on your own self improvement and embrace the slower, deeper connections. The best relationships often happen when you're not desperately swiping away. If you found this helpful or you have your own thoughts when it comes to dating apps, whether it's experiences of success or experiences of failure, I would love to get to know your thoughts so that we can all learn together as a community. Remember, the only limits that you have are the limits that you set on yourself. If you believe you don't have what it takes to meet someone in real life, then you're never going to be able to do so. You really need to start deleting the apps and start doing things to help your own mindset so that way you can actually do the things that you want to accomplish in your own life, which is going to include finding that person that's right for you. And I know I just spent the last 15 or so minutes kind of complaining about all these different apps, but don't take this as complaining. If you've ever heard the phrase, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, why would you try to use something that is broken? You're going to be a lot better off saving the money that you would have spent on all these damn subscriptions on these different apps and saving yourself a lot of mental fatigue that comes with the depression of not getting as many matches or swipes compared to if you just started doing things in real life. And if the law of averages is true, why wouldn't you take the better chances when it comes to meeting someone in real life anyways? I think my next video is going to be about successful dating in this year of 2026, so keep an eye out for that. Remember, I love you boys. I'm doing this because I want to see you grow. I don't want you to make the same mistakes that I did, so please heed my advice when I say get off of the dating apps and start meeting people in real life. I'll catch you in the next one, boys. Peace.